We're sitting here like kind of squeamish about the. I don't know about Tomas. I mean, I'm sitting here like kind of dreading some of these matches, but after we just talked about this. After Judgment Day, this show is so much better. So much better, my friend.
Not the best show in the world, but a breath of fresh air, just considering that a lot of these matches were more fleshed out. There was more storylines. Judgment Day felt like just a joke episode of SmackDown that was extended to 3 hours with one good match. This actually felt, you saw the storylines in the show. They did a unique gimmick with this show that I don't want to see done all the time, but I do appreciate what they did. And, they do have a trope in this show that I usually don't like. Two tropes in the show that I don't like, but I think it just helped forward the storyline for the world title match. And, and some of these matches were all right. I feel like, you see that meme of like, oh, part one is just a normal drawing of a horse, and part two is a shitty drawing of a horse. And then the tail of the horse is the most beautiful thing you've ever seen in your life. That's how I feel about the show, give or take. It's not really a standout pay-per-view, but again, after you watch Judgment Day, this was a breath of fresh air. We're talking about Bad Blood 2004.
Bad Blood 2004. No Headstrong theme song this year. Second year in a row, it's a Raw exclusive pay-per-view. Yeah.
And the last time we will be seeing Bad Blood. Some fun trivia here.
Lame.
Apparently, WWE was planning to revive Bad Blood for 2017, but it got shot down in favor of Great Balls of Fire.
Yes.
Yep, this is
it
the
sure did.
Third Bad Blood, technically, because WWF did In Your House Bad Blood, technically, back in 97. Yeah.
Yep.
Which was headlined by the iconic Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker in the first Hell in a Cell match.
The inaugural Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah, only 3 Bad Bloods, but I feel like the show left its mark for better or for worse.
I agree with you, man.
WWE. I understand that WWE can't run a pay-per-view called Bad Blood nowadays, when especially blood is basically outlawed in most of professional wrestling, bar AEW that has to have blood on the show every week.
Oh. Well, I mean, you got to get your blade jobs in, brother. But Bad Blood, you definitely make a lot of valid points there. And yeah, I do remember sitting through that first Bad Blood pay-per-view for the first time. Obviously, it came out, when I was like 10 months old, but I watched it when I was much older. I just remember being like, oh, this is a one-match show. This is probably Bad Blood 2004 to me, out of the 3 Bad Bloods that we've gotten, has felt the most like a full-on good pay-per-view, quality-wise, from start to finish. It actually felt like, you had cohesive stories, you had storylines wrapping up. You felt like you were getting your money's worth, essentially.
I didn't hate the idea of single-branded pay-per-views, and I actually
don't either.
Appreciate the attempt. Yeah, I appreciated the attempt when they tried it again in 2016, going through about 2017.
Here's my thing about single branded pay-per-views, man. You actually have the talent to actually run single branded pay-per-views and have them still be top notch, like your big 4 or big 5, however you want to put it. But back in 03, 04, you had like Test and Scott Steiner on pay-per-view, and you had fucking like Heidenreich on pay-per-view headlining.
And it's like, my biggest issues, and we're not going to be done talking about the single branded pay-per-views for a while now. Like I said, this was my biggest issue with the first go around, is that the talent pool was very thin, and there is still a lot of fluff and filler on these shows to make them like necessarily good. The issue with 2016 and 2017 is WWE didn't really give it the chance to take off before they just said, no, axe it again. We're going back to double branded pay-per-views every single month. And it's like, because, you go to the 2016, 2017 era, you got people like Miro that got to main event pay-per-views. You got guys like The Miz and Bray Wyatt, and people like the mid-carders that usually wouldn't main event a pay-per-view, and they got the opportunity to do stuff like that. And once they finally started to get their footing going there, they were WWE just axed the entire thing. Here, you have your main eventers, and then everything else is just. I mean, we're going to get into this a lot later, but when your semi-main event, not counting the world title, is a gimmick that is still getting his feet wet in the business versus an announcer, there's an issue there.
But
you know
it's
what I
still
mean?
I get what you mean, man. On the surface, yeah, that sounds like a shitty idea. But with the feud that we're going to get into and all that stuff, it's really, really inspiring and endearing. So,
yeah,
we'll get there when we
go
get there.
back to these. Yeah, you go back to these, and another thing about 2016 and 2017, those were on the network. You were getting that included with the $9.99 a month, with all the classic shows, with all the documentaries, with all the original series.
Oh, I see.
Imagine going back and having to pay $40 for Bad Blood 04 and Judgment Day 04 and the Great American Bash 04 and Unforgiven 03. We were kids. We were kids. You look at the TV, you see Shawn Michaels versus Triple H in a 2 out of 3 falls match for the World Heavyweight title. You see The Undertaker. Oh, The Undertaker. I want to watch The Undertaker wrestle. So you bug your parents.
A rare appearance.
$40. But you look at us now in our mid to late 20s, and you look at these shows and you think, why the fuck would you pay $40 to watch Chris Jericho versus Tomko? Why am I paying $40 to see Mordecai versus Hardcore Holly?
Way to bury the lead.
When you think about it.
Burying the lead here. Bad Blood 04. Yeah, no, we have like the good, the bad, and the for sure ugly to talk about on this show, which is fitting because that's a masterpiece of a film. But this takes place June 13th of 04 in Columbus, Ohio at the Nationwide Arena. This is, of course, headlined by an iconic Hell in a Cell match that I'm sure Tomas is ready to gush about by the end. But we start off with a very interesting concept here. Someone was pulling double duty on this show.
Yeah, so this is the trope that I was talking about. La Resistance, which is now Sylvain Grenier and Robert Conway. Rene Dupree was drafted to SmackDown, so the faction of La Resistance is back to being a two-man team. They tried to sing the Canadian national anthem, which was like a trope that they did on Raw a lot of times. They'd start singing, and they would get interrupted by a tag team. But here I am, they get to do it almost in full, and I'm just thinking, I guess you have to buy pay-per-view to see the full Canadian national anthem sang by La Resistance.
So
but they get...
they get interrupted by Edge, who, might I remind you, is also a Canadian. So why was he interrupting his national anthem?
His tag team partner is the World Heavyweight Champion, Chris Benoit. Yes, Benoit, who will be defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Kane later on in the show, is pulling double duty and is challenging for the World Tag Team titles. You guess you could say the roster was really running thin if they're having Benoit pull double duty on this match. You look at it kayfabe-wise, and you just look at Benoit and realize what a workhorse he is. He is willing to team with his good friend Edge to challenge for the tag team titles when he knows he has a 300-pound monster he has to defend his World Heavyweight Championship against.
Oh, yeah.
And one thing I did notice right away from this match, and you know what this would like barrel into, Edge was already stale as a babyface. That well was running
very
dry.
much so.
The fans were very lukewarm, and they weren't turning on him just yet, but he wasn't getting the pop that he was getting in previous years, and the injury really derailed him. So you see Edge come out, no Rob Zombie, and the gimmick has just run
That's
stale.
another thing.
Thankfully, the WWE realized this, and we'll be getting something very fun with Edge in the upcoming months. But again, this is stale babyface Edge. But he's teaming with Benoit to take on La Resistance. And again, this is a trope we really don't see in the World Heavyweight Champion pulling double duty. Do I agree with this? I really didn't mind it on this show because if you go back and watch the build up to this, it was perfectly it was weaved into the web. And this was actually a pretty solid match, all things considered. You could say Benoit and Edge were a thrown together tag team to take on La Resistance. The only weird thing, and you alluded to this earlier, again, Vince McMahon's weird fetish with foreigner bad. If you are not from the United States of America, it doesn't matter if you're from Iraq or England or Japan, or for some reason, Vince's weird hatred of Canada, and we all know what that roots from. Canadian equals bad. So But your challengers, the white meat baby faces, Benoit and Edge, are from Montreal and Quebec. No, I mean Alberta, respectively.
In Toronto.
In an infamous episode of Raw, this match was run back. The fans were chanting USA. Everyone in the ring is Canadian.
There's not a single American person in the ring right there.
Like, how come Conway and Grenier, French bad, Benoit and Edge, good Canadian, bad Canadian, good Canadian? What's the difference,
dude? Like,
it's crazy. It's crazy.
Oh, my cheeks hurt already. Like, I can't, dude.
But that's the only thing I hated about this match, because I thought this was a very solid opener, all things considered.
Yeah. Oh no, dude, it totally was. I also really freaking you gotta give Benoit the credit where it's due, because he was a freaking workhorse. He was the guy who was taking the hot tag from Edge, and he was running wild on both the Frenchies and locking in the sharpshooter and all that. The crowd was really into it. You know, honestly, they should be into it because it's the opening contest. So the crowd is going to be super hot either way.
Benoit could have taken it easy. He could have just worked. So no, he was full force out there, 110%.
Well, you also got to remember that this is a guy who spent an hour in the ring just 5 months prior to win the Royal Rumble match. So I'm sure working 2 matches of like half that length, no problem. No problem at all.
It's crazy. Take away your personal feelings aside of the man, because, you know, we have ours. It's just crazy, Benoit's work rate on this show. It was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Near the end of the match, they did something really cool that I liked. Benoit has the crippler crossface locked in on one of the Frenchies, and then as the other one is starting to go to break up the submission, Edge hits him with the spear.
He does.
I love that. I love when you see...
Yeah, you thought that Benoit was going to win there, too.
I love when you see the two baby faces just like one finisher and then the other one use the finisher. It was so fucking cool because, you know, as I complained about it Judgment Day, oh my God, RVD and Rey Mysterio a team? What? You know, I didn't feel that here. I just thought it was too, you know, I did look at this and go, Benoit and Edge a team? That's fucking awesome. You know, they were
and Charlie Haas a team? That's awesome.
Yeah, I feel like the difference between the RVD and Rey Mysterio versus the Edge and Benoit dynamic is that take Cesaro and Claudio Castagnoli, the bar. If the team has to really work together as a tag team, you can't just have, there's a difference between a tag team and 2 single individuals. And I feel like just throwing together RVD and Rey Mysterio, Booker T and RVD, or later on Booker T and Eddie Guerrero, those are 2 sets of singular stars.
Oh, I forgot about that. As
opposed to Claudio Castagnoli and Sheamus, they worked together as a team, and I feel like even Benoit and Edge here, they worked really well as a team.
Oh, they did. They did. Edge stopping Robert Conway from beating or, you know, saving his partner from the crossface. Edge coming in, hitting him with the spear. Sylvan was in that hold for 30 seconds or so. It was a long, long time he was in that crossface, which is you know, credit to him where it's due.
We're going to get 2 tropes at the same time that I usually don't like. So as you were alluding to, Benoit is about to win the match for his team, and then Kane's fire goes off. And what's really cool here is that Kane's fire goes off, and not his music doesn't play. Just the fire comes off, and here comes Kane. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, Kane just storms down to the ring. Benoit tries to, Benoit lets go of the hold. Kane hits Benoit with the big boot, and the ref calls for the bell. Disqualification. No title change.
You know, I don't like seeing people who have matches later on in the night appear earlier in the pay-per-view, and I don't like disqualification finishes, but this tied into the story perfectly.
Yes,
Kane
I agree.
Is a monster. He knows he's wrestling Benoit for the championship. Why would he not go down there and beat the ever-living fuck out of him to make sure Benoit does not go into the match 100%? Benoit and Edge didn't need the tag team titles, and the World Heavyweight Champion did not need to be getting pinned in the opener of a pay-per-view.
No.
I'm okay with the match getting thrown out. So I thought this was a really cool dynamic, and it added to the story.
Yeah. I didn't mind this disqualification finish as much as I did the main event of Judgment Day, for example. But exactly your point. It ties right into the story. Kane basically comes in to weaken Chris Benoit before the title defense that we'll be talking about a little bit later. Hits both Benoit and Edge with choke slams, and then he just walks to the back. Also throws Benoit into the steel steps for extra good measure. And Great selling by Benoit, too.
It was great. It really reminded me of what would happen at WrestleMania 30 with Triple H injuring Bryan Danielson before his World Heavyweight title match. It was very reminiscent of that, or should I say, Danielson reminded me of what Benoit and Kane did. I actually really enjoyed this opener. I'm going to give it 2 3/4 stars.
I'm going to match it. Yeah, I thought it was good.
Fun opener. Benoit and Edge worked really well together. I think La Resistance, they were an over enough act that they were in a pay-per-view match with the World Heavyweight Champion. Really good action all around. I love the sequence at the end. I love everything that intertwined. This was a good way to open up the pay-per-view.
Yeah, once Benoit got the hot tag, this match was on fire, and the crowd was on fire for this. And they bought the near falls too. There were some really, really good near falls towards the end of this. But it only went 10 minutes, so I think I would have liked just a few more minutes tacked onto it. I think it would have, been a little bit better if you had some more moves thrown into the mix. But
was this before or after Benoit and Edge hot potatoed the titles with La Resistance? Because I know Benoit and Edge were the champions at one point for like a minute. Because later on in the show, Benoit surprises Eugene as his tag team partner, and I vividly remember Eugene running around the ring with both the world title and the tag team title.
I believe they would hot potato the titles with La Resistance after this pay-per-view.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the video package, Benoit surprised Eugene as his partner more than once. So I think that's where they were going with that.
Chris Benoit, also Eugene's new best friend, which speaking of, we do get a backstage segment where Jonathan Coachman is backstage in Michigan Wolverines attire, even though he's not from Michigan. Just doing it to rub salt in the wound of the Ohio State Buckeyes that are in the audience, presumably.
What a fucking great heel.
I know.
He fucking knew how to rub all the fans the wrong way.
Coach really does not get enough credit for how much heat he got with these people.
It's like we discussed in earlier reviews. He knew how to get heat. They just didn't know where to put him. He was always an announcer, or he was strangely a wrestler, even though he wasn't a wrestler, or he was just the guy to get heat. He was never like a manager, like a manager of a team, or a manager of a wrestler.
The Rock picked on him too much.
Yeah, or like the mouthpiece for a heel faction. Like you look at amazing black managers now, like MVP and Stokely Hathaway. You put Coachman in like Stokely Hathaway's role, he would have been perfect.
Oh yeah. But here he is. He's wrestling a match with Eugene later tonight, and Eugene's uncle Eric Bischoff is telling Coach to ship him off and to get him out of his company forever, which is ironic. Ironic, Eric Bischoff saying that this is his company. And basically, Coach leaves, and then Eric sees that his poor nephew heard everything that he said, and he's standing off in the corner. He's looking really sad, and Uncle Eric is just... oh man, this is so terrible. So he looks at his poor nephew and he's like, listen, you remember your favorite wrestler Triple H? He tore his quad in the middle of the ring. I wouldn't want you to do that. Or your best friend Chris Benoit just broke his neck. I don't want you getting in the ring and doing that. So you can either just go home, just take the night off, or you can go through with the match and risk injury. And Eugene doesn't even give it a second thought. I want to wrestle, Uncle Eric. I'm like,
and it's crazy. You look at the dynamic that Bischoff was pointing out, literally treating Eugene like a child, telling him, you remember the big muscle behind your leg, or take all your autographs and all your pictures and go back and tell, oh my God, like Bischoff.
What a
bastard.
Dick. What a dick.
You look at the segment and you think, why isn't Eric's sister calling him up and saying, what the fuck are you trying to do to my son on your television show?
The evil of that, treating his nephew there like a burden.
It's crazy, but this is going to evolve into one of the most endearing storylines in all of 2004.
Yes,
mind you.
And I can't wait to get to it
later.
But we got to wait a million years. We got to torture ourselves.
I can wait a million years to what's coming up next. Zack,
Chris Jericho.
Sorry, but I think we have a problem. And what do we do when we have a problem?
You bring in the problem solver. Chris Jericho is wrestling Tyson Tomko. Why is he wrestling Tyson Tomko in this card and not Christian? Well, unfortunately, Christian was injured at this point, I believe with a torn triceps. So you send the most bland of all heaters in there to take on Chris Jericho, And not even Trish Stratus, who the crowd loved to death, could get Tyson Tomko over. No chance.
Hold on. The real question is, who the fuck is Tomko? I will tell you who Tomko is. Tomko is Christian's problem solver. That's right. Christian got himself a heavy to deal with Chris Jericho, to basically, again, solve all of his problems.
Well, why wouldn't he?
And yeah, you know, the dynamic worked really well because Christian's the chicken shit heel. He should be hiring a big guy to do all of his, you know, all of his dirty work. And unfortunately, when you have a heavy that can only just do the dirty work, what do you do when you basically send the lamb out to slaughter on his first pay-per-view? Also, Tomko, I guess, got the dubious honor of inheriting Christian's old theme song. It was a hand-me-down because Christian now has excellent theme song performed by Waterproof Blonde, Just Close Your Eyes. So Christian handed down his old theme song to Tomko.
Which is fine. It's a good song. But for Tomko... You know,
for Christian, it was fine. For Tomko, it's the definition of generic wrestling music. You got this big, bald dude covered in tattoos with a goatee. And yeah,
This is a match. This is a match. Okay, so this is going to be a theme. This is a theme of this podcast here, Tomas. So I feel like a big message that we're going to be getting across is agree to disagree. Chris Jericho, in his list, rated this 3 stars. I don't think this match was that good.
Something tells me that Jericho was probably very proud of how he worked in this match, and he was proud that he didn't think it up, you know, because one thing, and the only nice thing I will say about this match, is that Jericho made Tomko work.
Jericho certainly tried.
He said, if you're going to be in the ring with me for 6 minutes, I don't care if it's 6 minutes, I'm going to make you fucking work. We're going to go in there. I'm not just going to bump for you. You're not just going to do your big moves to me and I get a quick roll of victory. No.
I didn't see any of that. Tomko had the most basic, shittiest offense you could have ever seen. Jericho certainly tried with what he was given, but I'm going to agree to disagree. I thought this match fucking sucked. It was so boring.
I'll tell you what he can do. He can do clotheslines. He can do body slams. He can put on rest holds. He can punch you in the corner. He can hit you with a big shoulder tackle.
That's it.
That's it. And Jericho is hitting this guy with a plethora of moves. He's pulling out all the big stuff. Running bulldog, lion salt, the springboard drop kick, everything Jericho that does well to try and save whatever the fuck he has with Tomko. And this match was just there.
It existed, you know? Like, and
you know,
I almost equate this
boring match. A boring match is worse, in my opinion, than a bad match.
Daniel Bryan wrestling Big Cass on pay-per-view is twice in a row very similar to this, but it's like
at least I enjoyed Danielson and Morrissey because Danielson is the best fucking wrestler on the planet.
At least Big Cass had personality.
Yeah.
Just saying that. Tomko had nothing.
Personality in WWE.
Absolutely nothing. Nothing to offer us. Jericho.
Again, you're a heavy who is literally hired. Your only job is to look menacing and beat up people when, you know, Christian tells you to beat them up.
And
when Christian is gone, Tomko can't really do much on his own.
Yeah. And you told me this yesterday. And I was fucking amazed at this. We talk about Chris Jericho's list, the book that came out a year ago. Tomas owns it. I unfortunately don't have a hard copy of it, but he said, how many times did Jericho and Tomko wrestle in the build-up to Bad Blood?
8.
And how many times did Chris Jericho beat him?
8.
So, so you're telling me that the problem solver is supposed to go in, beat Chris Jericho. That's key. Beat Chris Jericho. And he can't even do that one fucking time.
4 of those matches were steel cage matches. Can you believe that? Do you remember when Tyson Kidd had a heavy named Jackson Andrews? No, you don't. You know why? Because he hired Andrews to be his heavy. 2 weeks in, he lost to Mark Henry, and he was gone.
Oh, man.
Tomko had a 2-year run in WWE.
I don't remember a single damn thing about it. But basically, there's not really much to
Most of it was
report.
with Christian.
Yeah, there's not much to report. Tomko knocks Trish off the apron accidentally after she tries to distract Jericho again. Jericho pins Tomko with the running enziguri after 6 minutes. Yeah.
Shitty-looking enziguri, too.
1 star. 1 star. And that 1 star goes to the effort Chris Jericho put in.
If you're Christian, how do you not fire this guy after this pay-per-view? He hung on to Tomko for another year. Christian still has a year left in him before he leaves for TNA.
And again, something else that amazed me that you told me, Tomko would eventually follow Christian Cage to TNA. Why would TNA hire this guy?
Jeff Jarrett said, this is all he said. Christian insisted.
That tells you all you need to know, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Tomko is not good.
This is not the last time we're going to see Tomko on this show. You think after the shitty performance, Trish Stratus would say, go sit in the corner. Go stare at the wall and think about what you did.
Go have like a New York steak or something.
Yeah, or
but
like
no.
Even worse, you're going to go pick up Christian's laundry, mine and Christian's laundry, and you are going to sit behind a washboard and a bucket, and you are going to hand wash every single piece of our laundry. You punish him. But no, more on that later.
No. He is not punished in the least. 1 star in a bad match that was thankfully kept short. Again,
this was unfortunately the blow-off to what was a very fun rivalry between Christian and Chris Jericho.
I mean, they would wrestle one more time on pay-per-view in 2004 that we will talk about in a couple months, but...
Oh, you're right. I know exactly what match you're talking about, too.
Yep, yeah. So this isn't exactly the blow-off, but in terms of, like, this story that Jericho has had going on with Trish since WrestleMania,
it's
like, big whimper.
Yeah, crazy.
Anyhow, Todd Grisham is interviewing Randy Orton backstage, Tomas. And that leads right into an interesting little unique gimmick that you were talking about at the beginning. And is it just me, or does every Ruthless Aggression pay-per-view with a Randy Orton interview on it feels like it's being conducted by Todd Grisham? Because
you're right.
Like, it seems like to me, this is deceptively trying to turn Randy Orton and Todd Grisham into the next Coach and The Rock, but not as entertaining.
No.
No, Todd Grisham and his boy band haircut interview Randy Orton backstage. Anyway.
I think Chris Jericho and Alex Marvez and even Seth Rollins and Charlie Caruso is a more endearing duo than these guys were. I didn't even realize that.
Hey, Charlie, I hate football.
I miss Charlie Caruso. I miss when Seth Rollins would call her Charles. Anywho.
Yeah, Charlie Caruso?
Hell fucking yes.
Okay,
Anywho.
good.
Randy Orton, the Intercontinental Champion, comes out to the ring to cut a promo. He is interrupted by his opponent, Shelton Benjamin, the plucky young babyface, who basically cuts a plucky promo, just saying, he's ready to fight Jericho. He's ready to fight Orton. He's ready to take on the Intercontinental Championship. Why are we waiting? The classic babyface line, why are we waiting? Let's have the match now. So Orton is kind of taken off guard. The referee comes out, and we have an Intercontinental title match.
Yes.
Orton defending against Benjamin. I will say, pulling the trigger a little too soon on Benjamin here with giving him a title shot. He was just starting.
He was beating a lot of Evolution members left and right, beating Triple H 3 times in a row on Raw, beating Ric Flair at Backlash, beating Randy Orton twice on Raw. Like, it was only fitting that you give him a title match here.
Though I am happy Benjamin would be keeping, this theme of him fighting Evolution going on. One thing that really bothers me, and especially in modern wrestling, is you're pushing a guy or you debut a guy, and then 2 weeks later, they get a couple of wins. And then 3 weeks later, they're challenging for the championship.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to do that because if your champion is a guy that you're trying to build, you can't stop you're going to stump someone's momentum.
The legend killer.
I don't think it was bad to this extent. But, 2 months ago, Orton was facing Mick Foley in a hardcore match for the Intercontinental
He sure was.
title. And I don't want to say this is a downgrade, but comparing the two matches, you really like this match. I thought it was
good. You
I
know,
thought it was all right. A
okay,
little too
so
long for my liking.
well, that's not the only
These guys
match.
got 15 minutes.
They got 15 minutes, and I honestly could have done with like maybe 2 more minutes. You know, maybe shave off some time from another match that we'll talk about. But Randy Orton versus Shelton for the IC title. It's yeah, the gimmick at the beginning, really liked it. Interview, which leads to the crowd booing Randy Orton for ending Mick Foley's career, allegedly. And then that leads to him organically speaking, going out to the crowd to gloat a little bit. And then everybody was like, oh, these guys weren't scheduled to go on until second to last. And I'm like, you really think that in 2004 Vince was going to put the IC title match after the world title match? No.
Absolutely
not a chance. This is match number 3 on the show if I ever saw one. This was always the plan. But yeah.
I think one of my biggest issues with this match is that at this point in time, I don't think Orton and Benjamin's styles really clashed. Benjamin was super athletic. He was doing a lot of, not super high risk moves, but, his athleticism was out of this world. The spinning wheel kick, the off the top rope clothesline. And Orton was still very, not even methodical like the Viper, just very slow paced, a lot of rest holds, a lot of slowly working over the body parts. Kind of taking pages out of Ric Flair's book, but not in, Flair's storytelling was a lot better when he did stuff like that. But
I was about to say,
just felt very at a snail's pace.
I was about to say that this is a very NWA style heat segment. Randy Orton very, very methodically chin locking Shelton Benjamin and grounding him, so he's not doing all this athletic shit.
Orton, very much a student of the game at this point. Obviously, they saw big things in Randy Orton, and they were pushing this guy to the moon, which will culminate at the end of the summer. For better or for worse, it will be a very bumpy road for Randy Orton these next couple of years. But I still think that Orton just had a lot to learn when it came to constructing matches. I mean, he had the best teacher he could, the dirtiest player in the game, Ric Flair. That he
did come down to ringside during this match too.
Yeah, who was obviously picking up pointers. He was picking up pointers from. One thing I really appreciate about this match, and you do have a match like this that, there's not a lot to talk about. JR found a way to consistently talk about the match the entire time, throughout all the rest holds, throughout all the heat segments. That's what made JR one of the best commentators of all time. He was just so consistent. He never ran out of things to talk about. There was no awkward silence. And Jerry Lawler, I'll give the devil his due. Jerry Lawler is probably the most consistent color commentator in the history of wrestling. I really just enjoyed the commentary during this match. It's something you really don't anymore.
Hey, you're sure glad it wasn't the coach and Al Snow, as they promised at Unforgiven last year, but
yeah. No, thank you.
Oh boy, yeah, but because I would love Al Snow to be my analyst, but Shelton makes his comeback. He goes for the T-bone suplex, and when he does hit the T-bone, Ric Flair puts Orton's foot on the bottom rope, and JR, of course, him just lambasting the Nature Boy. He's like, "Oh, come on! He put his foot on the rope, damn it!"
So, JR also made a really good funny call. He said, Orton didn't even know where the damn rope was. The referee thinks that he put his foot on the rope. This next sequence, I fucking loved. So Flair is strutting his way up the ramp, taking a sweet-ass time. Benjamin goes up to the ramp, punches Flair, throws him back in the ring, gives Flair a stinger splash, then he gives Orton a stinger splash, and then he goes to put Flair in the figure 4 leg lock.
And he does.
He goes to break up the submission, and then Benjamin, while having Flair in the figure 4, tries to roll up Randy Orton. It was an awesome sequence.
It's a very creative spot there, and I completely forgot that happened.
Doesn't Jay Lethal remind you of Shawn Benjamin? Just watching this.
Yeah.
He is. I fucking love it.
100%. It makes me sad that AEW is not really utilizing Jay Lethal to his fullest extent either, but anyhow, yes. So Shelton rolls up Orton while he's locking Rick in the figure 4. By the way, Stolen finishers. Give me more. Is my favorite
Also,
trope. Give me more.
If that was the finish, I would have been happy. I would have been so fucking happy if that was the finish.
Would have been so fun. Would have been so out of left field, and as a way to end Randy Orton's 6-month title reign at this point.
And it doesn't end there. Benjamin then climbs into the top rope and he hits a flying clothesline. The fact that Benjamin was able to hit all of this sequence of offense was amazing. You really don't see that anymore.
Hits a flying crossbody, and then Randy Orton rolls through and hits him with an inside cradle, and it has him with the hold of the tights.
Boo.
Randy Orton retains.
Boo. Boo.
Boo. It's Randy Orton.
Boo.
He's just not going to stop.
Boo, roll-up finishes. Boo, roll-up finishes. Even though I just said I wanted one just a few seconds ago.
Well.
Boo, roll-up finishes.
The roll-up of death.
Boo, roll-up finishes that come out of nowhere. Interrupting the whole momentum of the match. Boo.
Well, get used to him. Get used to him, because that's not the last time you're going to see a roll-up finish on this show. But this was... I don't get why you don't like this match, Tomas. I'm going to give this 3 1/4.
I like it. I just thought it was, could have been a little more exciting.
I thought it was very competitive. The crowd certainly got into it by the end.
I didn't hate it.
I gave it 3 1/4, dude. This is very I don't want to say it's similar to Orton's matches with like an RVD or anything like that, but it's close enough, I guess. I think this match was better than his match with RVD.
I think this match is a hell of a lot better than who Randy Orton's going to be facing next month.
Oh, him and and Vengeance, right? Yeah. We'll get to that. We'll get to that, huh? But yeah, so Orton continues the longest IC title reign in like 7 years, I think he said in the promo. Not the last time you're going to be seeing Shelton Benjamin in the IC title picture. So stay tuned for a future ZNT Wrestling Show podcast down the line. But before we get to this next match, Lita is backstage in her private dressing room. This is key for this segment. Private dressing room. Her boyfriend, Matt Hardy, comes in there. And he basically is wishing her good luck. Oh, chill. Matt Hardy goes in there, probably eating some grapes along the way.
No mustard, though. No mustard. He despises mustard.
I hate mustard. Probably with a big glass of orange juice with no pulp.
No pulp.
No pulp. Yeah. Did you know that? Did you know that Matt Hardy doesn't know how they could have done WrestleMania without him?
Exactly. Did you know that AEW doesn't know how to execute this segment as endearing as they did in WWE?
Jeez. Oh, man. So he's basically wishing Lita luck, and Eric Bischoff comes in there with a big pile of security guards, and he basically says, Matt, you need to leave the building because I do not want anybody interfering in this world title match. Because, and this will be important, Matt Hardy is in a big kerfuffle with one Kane. And Kane is going to be very, very interesting to talk about over these next couple of pods. Because I'm going to get really, really freaking upset. But Matt is like, come on, dude. I'm here to basically just watch my girlfriend's match. I'm not going to... I don't want this drama with Kane. I don't want this, until he basically has to take matters into his own hands, which is, as a matter of fact, it's not the smartest move because for our entertainment, it's pretty terrible. So
but in reality, Bischoff is doing this to be a fucking asshole.
Yeah. Like what's so wrong with this? Like Matt is there to support his girlfriend, right? And Bischoff's like, no, you can't. You have to leave. And, like, if you don't leave, I'm going to take your title shot away. Bro, there's no reason to do this. Absolutely no reason.
If Bischoff was really concerned about that, and I don't know why he would, he could say, okay, Matt, you can stick around for the women's title match, but right afterward, security is going to be knocking at your door, and you have to leave. But no, he threatens to take away Lita's title shot. Why does he have to do that?
Well, because Kane is his bitch for 2004, and he doesn't want Kane to be messed with.
Also, why are you protecting the guy who threw you off the stage last year?
Makes no sense, does it? Makes no sense.
Yeah.
And this storyline is still in its early stages, my friends. Strap in.
Yep, it's gonna
Okay.
Yeah, strapping is probably the best term you could use.
Oh,
no, not in that way. I just mean it's going to be a really fucking bumpy ride.
Yes. Okay. So Lita is part of this fatal 4-way match for the women's championship, which is coming up next, which also involves Gail Kim, Trish Stratus, and the champion Victoria.
Let me lead off by saying this.
Yeah.
Wow. Vince McMahon really looked at Gail Kim and said, let's do fucking nothing with her.
Yeah. Yeah.
He really did.
I have a question for you. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Gail Kim Canadian?
Yeah, she is.
So why the fuck did Lillian Garcia say she was hailing from Korea? Huh?
Did you know that Jinder Mahal is also Canadian?
I knew that too. Which only goes to show you Vince McMahon is a racist too. But anyway,
what?
I'm not breaking any news saying that, guys.
So you have 4 of the best women's wrestlers on the roster, and probably really good wrestlers of all time.
5 minutes.
Let's get less than 5 minutes.
Yep.
To cram everything in as possible. Don't give this group match any room to breathe or develop or flesh out. Let's just do that there. Let's take away Victoria's awesome theme song because she's a babyface. She has to have a groovy dance song to come out to now so she can wiggle her ass for everybody.
I mean,
got some bad news for you. Victoria started up and slowly but surely it's going to keep descending.
Because she would
descending into madness.
So, you know who the MVP of this match was to me was Lita. Lita was a workhorse in here. I felt like she was in the ring pretty much the entire time and was like tagging in and out with certain people, and she like never left the ring. I can't remember a single time that Lita was outside the ring at this point.
We forgot to mention, like we said before, Tomko lost. So what does Trish Stratus do? Brings him out to ringside again. Why does Tomko need to be out there? He's not going to do anything. He can't do anything.
Tomko.
They really made this geek come out again after he lost.
Oh my God.
And you look at Tomko's face, and you can tell he is just covered in head to toe with embarrassment. Like he has to walk out in front of this crowd after losing.
Mm-hmm. And all he does is break up a pinfall, buying Trish Stratus a couple more minutes before winning the women's title, pulls Lita off of Gail Kim or something like that. Referee Mike Chioda. Yeah, referee Mike Chioda, he catches him red-handed, and then he throws him out of the arena. Somewhat for a problem solver.
Fucking geek.
I mean, you know, at least him solving this problem is sort of a catalyst that would allow Trish to win. Sort of. I don't know. Lita hits a DDT on Gail Kim, and Trish rolls up Lita and becomes a women's champion.
Again, 2004 WWE. They have nobody else to put this title on. So they go back to Trish Stratus.
Well,
again, kind of a parallel. You know, when you think about it, it was very fitting that Trish Stratus fought Charlotte Flair in 2019 because very parallel. WWE used to do that all the time. Charlotte Flair was always women's champion with brief breaks in between to give other women a chance.
Yeah.
Same with Trish Stratus. Someone's losing steam, put it back on Trish Stratus.
Oh, yeah. You know, and this match also needed more time. Like, I couldn't get fully invested in this thing. Like, less than 5 minutes for 4 very talented women. Like, gosh, if only there was certain other matches you could trim time off of on this card, but apparently not. But yeah.
No. I'm also going to say, because I don't think we're going to see Gail Kim on another pay-per-view after this.
No.
If it wasn't for TNA, I don't think we ever would have discovered how talented Gail Kim really is.
Mm-hmm. She really is. Yeah. She's a diamond in the rough, for sure.
The only thing I will say about Gail Kim is that she leaves, has her legendary stint in TNA. Why the fuck did she come back in 2009?
Reasons. Probably for unfinished
shame
business.
On me. Fool me twice, shame on you.
Yeah. Big time. Gail Kim's too talented. So up next, Tomas, is something I'm very excited to talk about. It's a very, very special talent.
Absolutely. In one of these semi-main events, it is Eugene going one-on-one with Jonathan Coachman in a very interesting build. Mm-hmm. So as we talked about before, we got a little preview of this at Backlash, I think. But this rivalry is basically, full on. So to basically explain how we got here, let's go all the way back to the beginning. Eugene is Eric Bischoff's nephew, and
Correct.
Eugene is a very special kid. He wants to be a WWE wrestler. He loves professional wrestling. He's been watching it his entire life. So Eric Bischoff tasked William Regal to train young Master Eugene in a collection of hilarious video segments of Regal and Eugene working in the ring together. Eugene's favorite wrestler is Triple H, so he has a Triple H water bottle, and he makes a look at Regal before Eugene does the water. There's a hilarious bit where Regal is getting interviewed, and you look behind him, and Eugene is wrestling himself in the ring. Super awesome stuff. So Eugene comes onto Raw, and Eugene just wants to be everyone's friend. Eugene wants friends. And, he goes out there, and he loves the fans, and he gets a couple of special friends, like the World Heavyweight Champion Chris Benoit, who comes out and surprises Eugene as his tag team partner. And then he gets another special friend.
He does, man. And honestly, this is the Raw that aired the day after Judgment Day when I was still feeling really down. And then Coach, I was watching this Raw live. I'll never forget it. Coach is basically telling Eugene that nobody wants you here. Nobody wants to be your friend. Don't ever think about coming back. Sends Eugene home. Eugene is in tears. If you smell, and I lost my fucking bananas because The Rock had not been making any normal appearances full time anymore for WWE. It left me devastated, downright devastated as someone who is a huge fan of The Rock. And seeing him come out and help Eugene like that, and in a very entertaining segment as well, which had one of the funniest moments in Raw history. After he basically runs the coach down and all that stuff, he's like, "Who's your boy standing in the middle of the ring? The Rock!" Who? It gets better than that, Who is the people's champ? The Rock! And who is your favorite wrestler of all time? Triple H! I had to reenact the whole thing. I'll never forget it. It was so funny.
That is the best catalyst of things to come. But we're not there quite yet.
Yeah.
The only weird turn that this storyline makes is that Coach basically apologizes to Eugene, and he says, "You know what? I was wrong. You do have friends. Chris Benoit is your friend. The Rock is your friend. And everyone here in the audience is your friend. And I have another special friend that wants to meet you." And Kane comes out, and I hated this because Eugene is scared out of his mind. He doesn't want to be near Kane. Coach says, "Kane wants to be your friend, Eugene. Don't you want to be friends with Kane?" And Kane shakes his hand, and he hugs him. And Coach says, "Well, I don't want to be your friend." And he attacks Eugene.
Coach blindsides Eugene.
Out of him. And it's just, it's crazy that this special storyline here became the second biggest angle in WWE at the time, and it involved Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, soon Triple H, The Rock, William Regal. It's crazy. WWE
and The Rock, the amazing thing is, I actually listened to Nick Dinsmore's YouTube podcast as well, where he talks about this segment with The Rock. The Rock, they didn't know if The Rock was going to be there that night, because he was filming, I believe, Be Cool around this time. And thankfully it was...
Unfortunate.
Yeah, this was in SoCal. Yeah, I know. Be Cool is a terrible film, but yeah, this was a Raw that was in Southern California, San Diego, right? And they didn't know if The Rock could make it in time. If he couldn't make it, they had a substitute. Eugene said it was going to be Rhino that helped him out, but that segment would not. I love Rhino, but that segment would not have hit me in the feels as good as it would have if The Rock actually did show up. And then they actually go backstage after that segment. Eugene and Coach are both scared out of their minds because they ran long. They ran way long. And The Rock was like, if it's good, we can run long. It's okay.
Now, I know we've said this a million times, but this time I actually mean it because I forgot. I forgot about this segment. Now, I hope you enjoyed us talking about that Rock segment. You will not see The Rock in person until 2011.
2000. Yeah. Oh, you're right. You're right. Huh?
Promo package in 2007, promo package in 2010. You will not see The Rock again. And I don't even want to talk about that promo package in 2010 because it was stupid. They actually had the gall to tell The Rock that he needed to tone it down. And you could tell. But again, between 2004 and 2011, you will not see The Rock again in person. Not counting promo packages, not counting his Hall of Fame induction. I think when he inducted his dad in 2000.
Yes. 2008. 2008.
Yeah, that doesn't count. In a WWE ring, 7-year drought without The Rock.
Crazy, right? Crazy thinking about it that way. And Eugene credits The Rock so much for helping propel him to the highest level. Because The Rock didn't have to do that. The Rock came in, never met Eugene in his life, but, you know, he went in, he put him over, he put the character over and all that. Eugene is coming off here like our generation's Mick Foley. Super endearing. Everybody loves Eugene. I love Eugene. He makes his entrance with Master Regal. I'm feeling a little emotional seeing this entrance. Yeah. I'm like, this is so inspiring.
Except Regal was not allowed to accompany young Master Eugene to the ring. He was barred from ringside. And then this match is this is comedy done right.
Yeah.
It's comedy.
Oh, it was funny. Right. It was really funny.
Eugene's main gimmick in wrestling, which I loved as a kid, he copies his favorite wrestlers of all time, whether it be Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, the Junkyard Dog, Hulk Hogan. He does all of their moves in the ring.
Yes.
And then all this little comedy bit sprinkled. And again, Coachman is not Randy Orton. He's not Chris Benoit. They're not going to go in there and wrestle a 5-star classic. So they're doing the bit where they're running into the ropes.
They're running the ropes, and they're doing like the crisscross thing. And Eugene sees someone with a stuffed animal in the front row. And he goes out there, grabs a stuffed animal, and he leaves Coach in the ring still running the ropes.
Yeah, but before that, I remember, they did the bit where they're like wrestling each other, like doing underarms and stuff, and then Eugene hops on Coach's back, rides him like a horse.
Ride him, cowboy.
Eugene rolls himself up into a ball for some reason, and then Coach starts rolling him around. Eugene locks in a leg scissors around Coach, and he starts rolling him around, making him dizzy. Again, this is just pure comedy right here.
Eugene with the airplane spin, which was a big move for him.
And that would make himself dizzy. I love that shit.
Yeah.
And then he would do, so they were running the ropes again, and Coach went for a leapfrog, and he got on all fours to do that. And then Eugene stopped, ducked right with him, and then started hitting him with the JYD headbutts until pretending to pee on him like he was a fire hydrant. To the late great Junkyard Dog. Again, a lot of wrestling callbacks. And I think that was my favorite part about Eugene.
He was a wrestling savant. He's a fan all
the callbacks to my favorites too. I love Austin. I love The Rock. I loved Hogan as a kid. And seeing him act like those guys was so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So fun. You want to talk about this random chick that came down to the ring with cookies?
Yeah, this made me uncomfortable, believe it or not.
A little bit, yeah.
It wasn't that the lady came down. So again, this is like a cartoon at this point. So Coach basically summons this girl down to distract Eugene with a plate of chocolate chip cookies, but the lady is in a bikini? Why? Why does she have to be in a bikini?
Well, why do all the Diva Search contestants have to be in bikinis, right?
Yeah, or
Coach has to be specific when announcing them.
You could have gotten the same point across if you would have just had her dressed regularly, wearing an apron, wearing oven mitts, carrying the cookies down fresh out of the oven. But again, they just have to always put in these sexual innuendos in there. And then Eugene goes to grab the cookies. It looks like he's going to grab her boobs, but no, he grabs the cookies. And I'm like, she didn't need to be in a bikini. That's the only part that bothered me.
Well, you also got to remember that Vince McMahon booked this show. Take that as you will.
So subtlety, guys, subtlety. To put this poor girl in a
Eugene.
bikini.
The comedy continues. Eugene hits Coach with a rock bottom and a people's elbow and pins him, and the crowd loves it. The crowd absolutely loves it.
I don't want to rate this. I want to give it a thumbs up.
Yeah, I mean, wrestling-wise, I'm gonna pull a Chris Last special and give it a 2. But in terms of entertainment value, this is a solid thumbs up. Absolutely.
It got the point across, and then Eugene hits Coach with a terrible-looking Stone Cold Stunner.
Yes, sends him out of the ring, and that's that. That is that, my friend.
And then, believe it or not, Eugene is going to play a pivotal role in the pay-per-view main event next month. More on that when we review Vengeance.
Yes. Yeah, more on that when we review Vengeance, absolutely, 100%, and even more so when we get to SummerSlam. So, with that in mind, up next, you have a World Heavyweight Championship match between two absolutely deplorable human beings looking back in 2022, between a murderer and a transphobic asshole, Chris Benoit versus Kane. Man, I hate saying that this match is so good. Like, I hate saying
in hindsight, it's crazy.
It was. Like, man, dude, like, okay, Kane, we've mentioned this on other pods, right? Kane was never known for having those big, great wrestling matches. You know what I mean? He was always an attraction, like the fire popping up out of the corners and everything like that. But then every so often, he'll have little matches like the one against Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 18, which I think is a hidden gem. And then he'll have matches like this against Chris Benoit where the smaller guy makes him work. This match was great.
So the build to this match is fairly simple. Benoit said, they said I couldn't do it, so I won the Royal Rumble. I won WrestleMania. They said it was a fluke, so I won the same exact match again at Backlash. Mm-hmm. Triple H is temporarily out of the world title picture. So basically, he's going to fight Kane. And the best way I can describe this match is, this is Chris Benoit trying to murder Michael Myers with his bare hands.
Yeah, which is
he don't need no weapons. He doesn't need a gun. He doesn't need any of those crazy things that Shane McMahon had to use. Fire and steel chairs and steel steps. He is going in there and he's trying to kill this monster with his bare hands. And then right off the bat, I love the way this match starts out. No lockup, nothing like that. Benoit immediately goes for the chops, and Kane is selling these chops really well.
Oh, yeah.
I think Kane does not get the credit he deserves when it comes to selling.
And Benoit's hitting him hard with these chops, too, man. Like, my word. And he's telling Kane, come on me! Hit me! Damn it!
Yeah.
So, I don't know why he sounds like Ric Flair when I imitate him, but...
You look at where Kane is at the point in this rivalry, burying his brother alive, torturing Shane McMahon, just doing these absolutely despicable things to people on Raw. And Benoit is going in there, and he's not scared. He is taking this monster head on.
Not at all.
No gimmicks whatsoever, just his bare fists.
Mm-hmm. Oh, totally, man. And giving Kane like 6 or 7 German suplexes along the way, that only helps matters here. Like, because his normal 3 couldn't put the monster down for the flying headbutt, which, he would normally hit after 3. And he does hit the diving headbutt close to the end of the match and all that. But the big story was, how is Benoit going to be able to lock this big 320-pound monster in submission holds?
This is a trope that would get revisited several times, mainly in John Cena feuds. And it's always an interesting one when you can't use your bread and butter, when you can't use the move that wins you so many matches. But luckily for Benoit doesn't only have 1 submission hold. He has 2. So he kind of abandoned the cripple or crossface in this match, and he was going for the sharpshooter.
Yes, yeah. Benoit was going for the sharpshooters. Kane was goozling Benoit to block it. Did Kane hit a chokeslam in this match? I'm pretty sure he did. He did hit a chokeslam for a very, very good near fall as well. And the crowd was so into it by the end of this. I think the crowd was into this the whole way through. I think this is the most consistent that the crowd was into the whole match. Like, because world title's on the line.
Yeah. I think my favorite part of this match was Benoit wasn't just simply trying to get the sharpshooter onto Kane. He was continuously working on Kane's knee. And he would drop kick the knee. He would run to the ropes and drop kick the knee. He was really trying to wear this big monster down so he could get the sharpshooter on. He wasn't just mindlessly going for the submission hold every few seconds.
Yes. Kane was powering out of the sharpshooter here and there, every which way. Benoit finally locks in that sharpshooter, and it looks like a freaking tree stump sticking out of Benoit from under Benoit's arm there. Like, Kane's leg.
It's crazy.
Kane is very tall.
I had this best of 2004 WWE magazine, and they have this great shot of Benoit with Kane and the sharpshooter, and it's just Kane's legs alone engulf Benoit.
Well, Kane's tall, and Benoit was not very tall by comparison.
No.
So, what was Benoit, like 5'8", 5'9"?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, like Eddie was around the same height as him, more or less. So it gets close to the end. Benoit does lock Kane in the crossface, And Kane is in that crossface, man, for a good minute or so. Kane powers out of it, tries to lock in the crossface a few more times. Benoit realizes he can't beat the monster with a crossface, so what does he do? Rolls him up and pins him.
I really want to say boo, roll up pins. I really do, but Benoit versus this giant monster, it was smart.
Yes.
Jerry Lawler says it best on commentary. He faked Kane out. He was working on the right arm, I want to say, and then he switches it up, catches Kane off guard, and then is able to roll him up. I only don't like this finish because it looked like Kane's shoulder was up a tiny bit, and they could have fucked the entire thing up.
Little bit, huh? Yeah.
They were down the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And Benoit gets the surprise victory over Kane.
Yeah, a bit of a surprise victory, but I mean, Kane was gonna be in a feud over with something else on the line, but going into the summer,
very solid match.
I'm gonna match it. Yeah, this is, if you were to look back at Kane's whole career, again, you can't really pinpoint any matches where that was a great wrestling match, because again, Kane was all about the spectacle and the smoke and mirrors and all that. But in terms of just pure wrestling matches, this is one of the best of Kane's career. And it
really is.
It's unfortunate that we can never appreciate it as much as we can these days just because of who his opponent is,
Yeah, we can't really talk about this match in the way we want it to be remembered.
Yeah, I said it best. Yeah, I put it all out there on the table. That's who wrestled this match in 2022. But okay.
Also, it just sucks to say that Benoit only main evented one pay-per-view as World Heavyweight Champion that did not involve Triple H.
And it was the pay-per-view where he lost the title.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or, crazy to think about, right?
That's the pay-per-view Randy Orton found it under the ring.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah.
This joke is okay. Also, I gotta point out, we gotta
crazy. Kane wrestled himself for like 20 minutes. It was very weird.
And it was a really good wrestling match.
Yeah, he put himself in the sharpshooter, and then he just randomly rolled up into a ball and he lost.
Because Benoit doesn't exist is the joke, apparently. So one other thing that I really respected about this is the post-match analysis. Chris Benoit's walking backstage, and Todd Grisham is talking to no one. Todd Grisham is suspiciously talking to no one about Kane.
He might as well have been talking to Drax the Destroyer.
Yeah. Avengers Infinity War joke for you.
Yeah. You look at all these classic wrestling moments, and it's weird that you just see Batista in the background. Like, I never noticed it until like 3 years ago.
God damn you. So
yeah, Hogan and Andre, he was in the back.
Joking aside, Benoit is backstage, and he's basically explaining his process behind beating this big monster. And they're really, really trying to get over the "for real" catchphrase for Chris Benoit around this point. And I didn't exactly notice it when I was a little kid, but now looking back at it, like, as a 26-year-old man, like, that is a very, very forced Vince McMahon style line that he was really trying to hype up.
And I only knew about it because it was all over his merchandise. So many Benoit shirts that said "for real," and it was this very not Benoit font. Like, yes. I appreciated the Toothless Aggression shirt, but "for real" was just like, okay, we get it.
You would see it on the tights as well, with like the radar with the Fatal 4-Way 4 on there. It was bizarre, but
he ain't for real anymore.
Nope. And he brought that on himself. Anyhow, yeah. So let's talk about the one thing that you really want to talk about, Tomas.
The main event, the match to end all matches, to end the finale, the grand finale to one of the greatest rivalries in history. My personal favorite rivalry in pro wrestling history: Triple H versus Shawn Michaels inside Hell in a Cell. This is how you book a Hell in a Cell match. And it's crazy to think the guy who is basically the king of Hell in a Cell matches is running the show now, and he realizes that too.
Mm-hmm.
This is the match to end rivalries. And Shawn Michaels and Triple H have been at each other's throats for almost 2 years straight now. And they realize that this is never going to end. So they need to end it inside the structure that JR coins, this is where careers go to end.
This is where careers go to die, I think is what he said.
Yeah.
So I agree with everything he said. This is definitely the match to end all big stories. And this is probably one of the most epic stories of our childhood. 7 years in the making. These guys were like brothers. It started off with an amazing unsanctioned match with Shawn Michaels' miraculous return to the ring. And he was still going.
Match of all time.
He was still going. Still going in 2004. Unbelievable. And then you have this match. How long did they go?
47 minutes of pure, unadulterated action.
Remember how I said agree to disagree at the beginning?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be that guy. This match went way too fucking long. Like, listen, I get the idea here. This is the epic ending, the epic conclusion. That doesn't mean you have to have a Lord of the Rings style runtime to the epic ending here. Return of the King had 20 extra minutes. Every Lord of the Rings movie had 3 hours already. And there's stuff out of Return of the King you could have cut out, for sure.
Love this match.
And that's fine.
I love this match.
This is, okay.
It is my favorite Hell in a Cell match of all time.
And that's fine. That's fine. But you want me to make you feel better real quick? This is my match of the night. I gave it 4 stars.
Yeah. This
so
excellent. I gave it 4 3/4. I fucking love this match.
Why? It's too long.
I fucking love this match. And let me tell you why I love this match.
Okay, all right.
Because you have 2 of the best storytellers in the history of wrestling.
Yes.
People are so surprised when I tell them that Shawn Michaels is my favorite wrestler of all time over guys like The Rock or John Cena, or hell, even a guy like The Undertaker. But when I was a kid and I saw just how Shawn Michaels told a story, whether it was at SummerSlam or inside the Elimination Chamber or this match right here, this is why I never rooted for a guy like Shawn Michaels the way I rooted for him. It's just, I think it really has to do with his perfect blend of athleticism and storytelling and selling, and just how him and Triple H just click together so well. And Triple H, he is a ring general. Nobody else, probably other than Michaels, tells a better story in the ring than Triple H. And these were 2 guys that could not stand each other. And I don't even think they wanted to kill each other. They just wanted to see each other suffer. Because every single spot in this match was so perfectly and methodically planned out.
Methodically.
Yeah.
That's your key word there.
Match.
So, okay. I really appreciated all the work that these guys put in. I appreciated the fact that they were able to wrestle 45 minutes inside that demonic structure. Not very many people can do that. But I feel like there was a part of the match that I was like, these guys hate each other. They should be beating the fuck out of one another. And yet they're exchanging holds. You know, they're sitting there doing rest holds. Triple H is doing the Indian Deathlock knee thing. And I'm like, this is a fucking Hell in a Cell match. Use the fucking cage more. Like, I'm sitting here like, okay, like, you guys are exchanging holds in the ring. Use the stuff that's around you. You have it.
Even JR brought up that point saying, like, no, don't think they aren't aware of the cell wall. It will come into play. They're just waiting to use it.
It took way too long to get there.
This is why I didn't give it 5 stars. It wasn't perfect, but it was damn near perfect. And it's my favorite Hell in a Cell match of all time. You know, I think that's about fine. Like what are my favorite Hell in a Cell matches? I think about this one. Surprisingly enough, The Undertaker versus Edge at SummerSlam 08.
I like this.
My second favorite.
I like Undertaker versus Edge more than this. And another thing for me,
my second favorite Hell in a Cell match.
And here's another thing for me. This is also, you guys know I love movies as well. The reason why I give movies such good grades sometimes is their rewatchability factor. Undertaker versus Edge at SummerSlam '08, I could rewatch that match and never get tired of it, you know? I could rewatch that first Hell in a Cell match between Shawn and Taker at Bad Blood '97 so many different times. And that's a 5-star Hell in a Cell match in my book. You can't really top the original in my book.
Oh, yeah.
That's my argument. As uncomfortable as it can be to watch, Mankind versus The Undertaker is a spectacle.
It's iconic. It's iconic for a reason.
Triple H versus Shawn Michaels here at Bad Blood 2004. They were selling the idea that this was going to be the end. These guys were never going to wrestle again. And they were given 45 minutes. And we got, I want to say maybe 1 or 2 high spots in a match that I feel like could have had a lot more action. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's very, and I get I'm not saying you're wrong. This is why it's fun to talk about this right now.
Oh yeah.
Because I really like this match too. I really like the storytelling. I don't know how I want to put this, man. I could never really see myself rewatching this match as much as other Hell in a Cell matches that we've had.
And I will also say Triple H and Shawn Michaels were given 45 minutes, so it's very easy to burn yourself out knowing you need to go 45 minutes. So they did need to take rest in this match. And, there was a lot of selling. There was a lot of, Triple H hits Michaels with the steel steps just for Michaels to have to get back up, and then Triple H does it again.
Yeah.
But I also thought that added to the storytelling aspect of this match. One of the best spots, Shawn Michaels pulls out a ladder. How often do you see that in Hell in a Cell? And he jumps off of it and performs an elbow drop through the table, which is absolutely nasty. Some nasty chair shots in this match. They're not as nasty as the one Eddie Guerrero took at Judgment Day. Because when Michaels first started bleeding, I looked at that and it's like, damn, I know that's not a cut artery, but compared to that to the Eddie shot, it's a very good side-by-side comparison. But for
Michaels clearly had a lot of experience blading, and Eddie Guerrero not as much.
Michaels somehow was able to get his face clean by the end of the match. I don't know how he did
that. That's another weird thing. I was like, how is there was blood in this match. Don't get me wrong. The clue is in the name of the pay-per-view, Bad Blood. I feel like for an ending to an iconic feud like this that was built around Bad Blood, you would expect there to be a lot more literal blood. Now, I understand that you can't have a ton of blood. You don't want to kill these guys or anything like that. But if Shawn Michaels' face is squeaky clean after blading, I don't know. I think that's another telling sign that the match was too long in my book.
I will give you this. The only thing I did not like about the match, and this is another reason why this doesn't get a perfect 5-star rating, is the finish. Because Triple H hits 2 pedigrees, and then a la WrestleMania 19, Triple H lays there for I'm not kidding, maybe 45 seconds.
No, it was like 2 hours he was laying there.
It was, I did look away from the TV for a minute, and I looked back and I'm like, wow, this match is insane. What else could they do in this match? And Lawler says, and Triple H has a really bad habit of this, I've noticed.
Mm-hmm.
So Triple H, he literally goes,
oh my God.
This, and he's going.
That's my point.
He's going. And
you got to build the drama.
Okay. He's going. He's still going. He's still going. And then finally, 1, 2, 3. I swear, between Triple H and Shawn Michaels laying there and him getting that pinfall, you could have watched the Titanic.
God. I'm still flustered how this is your favorite Hell in a Cell match. Is it just because it's your favorite feud?
It's my favorite feud. It's my favorite finish. It's my favorite wrestler. It's just all. Here's the thing. This is my favorite Hell in a Cell match, but Shawn Michaels versus Triple H at SummerSlam is still my favorite match out of the feud, and it's probably my favorite match of all time.
Yeah, the unsanctioned match at SummerSlam cannot be topped at all. The emotion behind that match. I also feel like the crowd was a little bit drained. Not by the time, but they had seen these guys wrestle, God, how many times within the past few years? The last time they had a pay-per-view match was a Last Man Standing match.
Which is also excellent.
It's admittedly a good last man standing match, but
Tuning in to Crown Jewel this Saturday to see Bailey and Bianca. We're not talking that pay-per-view, so we're going to talk about it
now. Oh, Logan Paul better not win. But anyway, anywho, we're not talking about that.
This match was excellent. It's not perfect, but
no,
again,
of course
it's the
not.
Grand finale to my favorite feud of all time.
I love the ladder spot. I love the ladder spot.
And I brought this up yesterday. I said it's the grand finale to one of the best feuds of all time. Austin and Rock didn't do Hell in a Cell.
No.
Hogan and Andre. I don't even think they worked the cage. And I know that Hell in a Cell didn't exist, but Hogan and Andre never did something like
that
this.
one kind of has an asterisk next to it, my friend. Undertaker and Kane didn't do a Hell in a Cell match until 6 years after this in a terrible match. But
he's a shit match. But, maybe Hogan and Andre was a bad, but I'm just like thinking back to iconic feuds and thinking, Austin and Rock never did this. Kane and Undertaker never did this. This was probably the only grand finale and outside Hell in a Cell. I know Hell in a Cell has been pretty butchered the past 11 years, but hopefully we can get back to this. But just this is what a Hell in a Cell match needs to be.
With Triple H in charge, and Shawn in an executive position now, like we're gonna see Hell in a Cell matches like this more often. Now, hopefully not running as long as this one did, because this match freaking drained me rewatching it. I was like, my word. But here's my thing. I thought it was excellent, but I feel like there were a few missed opportunities here and there. First of all, the ending. I was waiting for Shawn to get up from that second pedigree and be like, come on, just hit me with another one. You can't put me down with this amount of pedigrees, And then Triple H hits him with the defining one. Or better yet, maybe have Shawn beat him.
I was going to say, how do you feel about Triple H winning this match?
I understand Triple H winning this match with 3 pedigrees. Shawn is the older talent wanting to put his best friend over. I don't think Triple H needed to go over in this, though. This is that's another thing I liked about it going in. It's a toss-up. You could have given it to either one. But if this was the grand finale, you could have had a happy ending. You know?
Also gotta understand that between 2002 and 2010, this was Shawn Michaels giving back to the business that he pillaged. It's very well known throughout history between 93 and 97. Shawn Michaels was probably the most despicable human being on the planet. And everybody in that locker room wanted him dead. The fact that he, had such a turnaround in his life and he insisted that he wanted to give back to the professional wrestling business tells a lot.
Which is fine. A lot. Yeah. And Shawn has become, since, one of the most humble people walking the face of the earth. But he really could have won this. Like, he could have kicked out of that last pedigree, and he could have hit one last sweet chin music, maybe 2 or 3, just a final F you to the guy who put him through so much hell, no pun intended, over the last couple of years. He could have won this. Another thing, if this was going to be such an epic conclusion, they really restricted themselves. I feel like they were holding back a little. I feel like there was a missed opportunity to break open the cage and climb.
I get it.
They very much could have done that.
Maybe they didn't want to overdo it, because Shawn Michaels wasn't really about, the ECW style spots. I know he did a couple.
Right.
He did fall off the Hell in a Cell, the side of the cage in the first ever. He did jump off of that ladder that went to heaven against Vince McMahon in 2006. And Michaels has done some crazy stuff, but he was never really like the ECW spot guy.
Right, yeah, but like Shawn didn't even have to take a bump through the announce table. Maybe they do a thing where Shawn hits Hunter with the elbow drop off the side of the cage and through the table. I do
get what you mean. I do get what you mean, but it was just such an incredible story.
Yeah,
such an incredible story. These two men.
I agree with you, man. That's the amazing thing. Like,
overall, this pay-per-view, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Like, it was miles better than Judgment Day, but still a lot of issues.
Yeah, I'm going to go 7.25. I feel like I liked the Benoit Kane match more than most other people do. The Hunter Shawn match, yeah, it's definitely an epic conclusion. But I feel like there was just a lot of fun to be had on this pay-per-view too. Eugene and Coach is not going to be a classic. I feel like the only like real duds on this pay-per-view, the women's four-way could have definitely gone longer, but it's no Chris Jericho versus Tyson Tomko, that's for sure.
No.
I thought the Intercontinental title match was solid. I thought the World Tag Team title opener was solid as well. If you want to go out of your way and do a Return of the King style, just binge the Triple H and Shawn feud and end with this, you can. But this is not. I really like the match. I really do, and I like this pay-per-view. It's not the most rewatchable Hell in a Cell match for me though, and Tomas loves it. Tomas loves it, and more power to him. Again, for me, it's all subjective. That's the amazing thing. We can.
Yeah, and I get it. The rewatch factor. Like, there's a bunch of matches I could list off the top of my head that I could go back and watch over and over and over. John Cena and AJ Styles from SummerSlam 2016. I'm sorry, 2016. That I could say, if Triple H and Shawn Michaels is right here, Cena and Styles is like right there. It's right fucking there, of almost overtaking my favorite SummerSlam match of all time. And then there are cell matches like, again, Undertaker and Edge, Michaels and Mr. McMahon from WrestleMania 22. There are a bunch of matches I can go back and like rewatch over and over and over again. I can understand, there's probably fans out there that say that they can watch Brett versus Shawn from WrestleMania
12.
Thank you. Yeah. And the Iron Man match over and over and over. I probably couldn't do that. So I totally understand where everyone's coming from.
And I've only seen that Iron Man match maybe from start to finish like twice, maybe 3 times in my life. Just to say that I've seen it. A lot of people call it the greatest WrestleMania match of all time, which I don't think is... I can understand that argument, but at the same time, I'm also like... It's all about the rewatchability for me. And that Iron Man match is... Not as rewatchable as TLC 2, not as rewatchable as Rock versus Austin. Or, it's
another good example I can make is that, people are like, oh my God, well, why do people praise Hogan and Andre so much? Meltzer gave it 2 1/4. I don't give a flying fuck about Meltzer, but here's the thing. It wasn't about the in-ring work between Hogan and Andre. It's about Hogan body slamming Andre, which nobody ever fucking did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, for moments like that alone, I'd probably give Hogan and Andre 5 stars.
Yeah.
Just because it's such an iconic moment. It never happened before, and it was never going to get replicated ever again. It's all about moments like that. For me, it's about the moments. Sometimes it's about the moments more than the rest of the match.
Mm-hmm. Totally. I'm right there with you, man. But guys, I think that's just going to about wrap it up for Bad Blood 2004. Hit that subscribe button if you're new. Hit that notification bell. Hit that thumbs up as well. It really, really helps us out. A lot more wrestling content to come. We have the 25th anniversary of Survivor Series 1997 and that infamous night in Montreal. Tomas and I have talked about it, and we're going to look to do that for you guys. Full Gear is coming up. Survivor Series from this year is coming up. And the next 2004 Retro.
Back to the shitter we go.
Back to the SmackDown shitter indeed with Great American Bash. God damn it, dude.
It's rough.
It's
very rough road going for SmackDown right now.
Yeah, but you want a hot take? You want a you want a little teaser for the Great American Bash pod, my friends?
Judgment Day.
I do, which is crazy me saying that, but anyhow, stay tuned for all that and much, much more. Stay classy, my friends.